The latest on COVID-19, it has arrived in our district. Very quiet downtown, fighting to stay solvent. And Jake Smith, Throwback Thursday. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Cogeco News. I am Greg Estabrooks. Indeed, COVID-19 is here. Clark Heipel standing by at the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit headquarters with the latest on the first positive case of COVID-19 in the North Bay Parry Sound area. Clark?
Yes, Greg, the local health unit has confirmed that a resident in the North Bay Parry Sound District has tested positive for COVID-19. A noon hour press conference was called to update the media and public on this case. A woman in her 60s was an international traveler earlier in March. She had a connecting flight home from Egypt, which landed in Germany before arriving at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Local medical officer of health, Dr. Jim Chirico, says this woman followed all necessary protocol and she was tested at the North Bay Regional Health Centre upon her return to Canada.
As a traveler, she was aware of COVID-19 and followed the instructions when returning to Canada. She immediately isolated herself for 14 days and monitored for symptoms. When symptoms started, the individual followed proper protocol by calling the health unit, who referred them to the North Bay Regional Health Centre's Assessment Centre. The health unit notified the Assessment Centre prior to arrival in a private vehicle, whereupon she was met by staff in full personal protective equipment, was provided a mask, and isolated. After assessment, she was tested and provided further education and instructions. The individual was well enough to return home and continues to self-isolate for the remainder of the 14 days.
This woman landed at Pearson International on March 13th. Is there any risk to her fellow passengers aboard the planes she traveled on or the people she came in contact with at numerous airports?
What's most important to know is that the symptoms that the person developed didn't occur within the time frame that would have exposed anybody on the flight. So the flight coming back to Canada, we look at, well, when could somebody potentially expose others? And the current thinking right now is possibly within 48 hours before they have symptoms. But for this person, they didn't have symptoms for 3 days. So this person could not have infected anybody on the flights. Had it been, we would be posting the flight, the number, the rows within that distance to let people know that that would be an issue, but it isn't here.
As of Wednesday night, just over 140,000 Canadians have been tested for COVID-19. With an increased demand in testing kits comes the need to be strategic on who gets tested and who doesn't.
Ideally, in a pandemic, we would want to test everybody, but it's just not feasible to do. We don't have the testing capacity, nor do we have a number of testing kits that would make that possible. It would overwhelm the system. So given that there's a global shortage, we all know that, of testing equipment, we have to look at what tests we have available. We have to look at the capacity to do it, and then we have to really prioritize the ones that need to be tested.
With the first positive test in our area comes the heightened sense of fear. What is Dr. Chirico's message to those feeling uneasy at this time?
We have to address fears. We have to address, and it's perfectly natural for people to feel frightened. But we also need to look at what the science is telling us. And what the science is telling us is that for most people, they're either asymptomatic or they have very mild symptoms and they recover in 1 to 2 weeks. So yes, people are afraid, but you also have the power to do something about it. And that's why in the time that we are in within this pandemic, we can do something about it. And that is the physical distancing, that you stay away from other people to protect yourself. Everybody has to have a look at themselves to see, how am I at risk and how are the people around me at risk? And take measures that you can personally do to do that. They need to know that they have that ability to do that. And they also need to know, to help lessen their fears, is that we've been working on this for quite some time. We've been working collaboratively with the healthcare system, with the municipalities to put things in place. As you can see with the assessment and testing centers that we were able to get functional very quickly that helped identify this person. And we're preparing for the worst in case things do get bad. And so all of these things have been done, and working together, we can all play a role.
You can view the entire press conference online. Visit yourtv.tv. Reporting for Cogeco News, I'm Clark Heipel.
Business in general hurting, obviously, since the near societal shutdown that took place in the last couple of weeks. Many in North Bay are out of work for really who knows how long. Some businesses are staying open, but it is tough sledding, full of many compromises. John Lechleitner has operated businesses in downtown North Bay for well over 30 years. And give the man credit, he knows how to reinvent himself. He says it's critical for business to try to stay afloat during this incredibly difficult time, but he also has concerns about what the community and the business situation will be when this is all over.
When we come out the other side of this, whether it's in 2 weeks, 6 weeks, I mean, we don't know, and we don't know what business is going to look like, but we need to be prepared as a business and a community. And when you look at the whole community, it's a series of individuals and businesses that make up. And I'm a firm believer right now that we have to kind of look at a North Bay first attitude, Ontario second, Canada third. You know, so anything I think we can do within the community to support the community, whether it's with the gathering place, whether it's buying from your neighbor in business or whatever, you know, sometimes you can't avoid it, but we have to do whatever we can. You know, I think the real eye-opener on this has been the worldwide supply chain has been turned upside down, and now's the time to kind of refocus. You know, we have great manufacturers, for example, in this city. I'm hoping that there's things that weren't economical for them to manufacture before because of foreign markets become economical now. You know, in North Bay, in Ontario, you know, Canada, North America, whatever. But the more we're focusing that way, and I don't mean it from a protectionist standpoint, I think this has really opened our eyes to, oh my God, we can't get that because it only comes from China, you know, or it only comes from Korea or India, where, you know, wherever it might be. I think this is where we need to take a pause, step back, and think about the welfare of our community, our province, our country, and kind of the continent in that order.
Down the road from Lechleitner's operations sits Cheapskates, run by Barry Kluss, also for more than 30 years.
This is just another challenge for small business right now. Personally, what we've done, we closed our lady shop, the Annex, last Wednesday, and I closed Cheapskates last Thursday. Not in the thought that we would be forced to close, but we felt it was the right thing to do to really be proactive with the COVID-19 virus. So, you know, at this point, the Annex is fully closed. We do have online with the Annex, so that's an option because we have we're part of Shopify, so people can purchase from the Annex online. We also have online here as well, so that's one option. What we've done is remain closed here, but because it is basically considered an essential service as well for bike repairs and bike service, we're open for appointments. So we're taking appointments one at a time, and we'll be able to take care of people's bikes, whether they need a tune-up or a repair. And it's going to be something we think is really important at this time because people need things to do. Being outside is one of the best things they can do at a distance.
Surprising announcement came from Nipissing University on Wednesday. Michael DeGagne is resigning as president halfway through his 5-year contract. DeGagne, or the school, announced he's leaving effective the end of the school year, which of course is kind of up in the air. The president is heading to the Yukon to take over for a school there, and he joins us via Zoom from, well, his car.
I'm actually in my 8th year at Nipissing, and in the university system, presidents can only serve 10. So and I was interested in continuing to be a president, and of course I had to do that elsewhere. And so I had my name out just recently, and thought it might take a little longer, but this was great. The offer came from Yukon University, and I'm really pleased about it.
You obviously have been at Nipissing for a long time. I mean, I know there's a lot of things that, will be part of your legacy. I'm thinking just from an athletic point of view, the way the gymnasium has been overhauled and the soccer field is fantastic. I know those are two things. Are there other things that you're going to hopefully be remembered by?
Well, yes, I hope so. One of the things that was important for Nipissing when I arrived was to continue their legacy of being a really student-centered, student-focused institution. And since that time, we have consistently, through a lot of hard work on behalf of the institution, we've been consistently ranked very high.
All right, congratulations and best of luck to Mr. Dragonier, a class act who's always been great with the media and great to Cogeco. When we come back, more Cogeco news. Welcome back, everybody. Keeping tabs on many things during this trying time, mental health being one of the more important ones. And don't be afraid to reach out. That is the message from the Community Counseling Center in the city of North Bay. Again, more with Executive Director Alan McQuarrie.
It's fundamentally against our natures to isolate. And I think that's what's frustrating our political leaders, because we're not only are we programmed just by routine, it's just what we do. We get up, we go to work, right? And it's hard to change that habit. But there's an even more profound level inside each of us that desperately craves that social connection. And for most people, when they think of going to work, they don't think of the social aspects of it. But most people who are working experience tremendous benefits of connecting with their coworkers. Just those water cooler chats that you would normally have are extremely beneficial for us as individuals. They help balance us. They help keep us connected. They help us to exist in a healthy way psychologically. So when people lose that, it's very, very difficult.
And this will pass. We don't know how long it's going to take, but what's your message to folks to kind of stay patient and know that there are better times ahead?
I think that's really important, Clark, and I think we need to highlight this. I mean, the stock markets, the news, we're being bombarded right now with almost kind of apocalyptic messages, and it's so important that people know this will pass. We're going to get through this. Life will return, and you know what? This may change society in many ways, But we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Our fundamental institutions will still be there when we get out of this. And people need to know that and have that assurance and give themselves permission to leave their regular routine, to step back, to rest, to stay safe, to stay well, knowing that we're going to be back to work and it's going to happen. It's just going to be a matter of time.
It is Thursday, and our Thursday tradition thankfully continues. It is Pet of the Week Day, and on this day, we are going to feature a senior-aged Australian Shepherd named Kanga.
This week at the North Bay Humane Society, we're outside enjoying the fresh air with Kanga. So she's around 8 to 9 years old. She's an Australian Shepherd, female fixed, and looking for her forever home.
Now, how did Kanga end up at the shelter, and how is she adjusting to her new environment?
Definitely. So at the North Bay Humane Society, we take in predominantly surrenders a lot of the time now. We're trying to help out the members of the public that are just sort of going through some tough times. And she did come into us from a breeding facility, so she was no longer able to be cared for there. So we've got her in. We're looking at getting her groomed, treated for external and internal parasites, and socializing with her just to sort of reassure her that people are okay and a home is something to look forward to.
She seems fairly shy and unsure of her environment, so that could be worked on over time.
Definitely. So the benefit for Kanga is as much as she's a little bit unsure, but she's not aggressive. So that's the biggest thing that the North Bay Humane Society struggles with. If an animal comes in and acts aggressively, that's very hard to place.
Now, during these strange times when people are at home, this could be a good time to adopt an animal, being that the new family would have lots of time to create a bond.
Definitely. So we always talk about, adoptions over the holidays and how that may not be a great thing. But in hindsight, you look about when the family is all at home together and spending time with the animal to build that bond, the relationships and the routines. So financially speaking, we want people to be aware that definitely getting into an animal is a very, very important financial step. So that is step number one. But definitely, if you've got family home and need a reason to sort of spend some time in the backyard or go out for walks or socialize or build that bond, now might be the perfect time for them.
If somebody's interested in Kanga, what should they do? Because the shelter is closed to the public during this time.
So we're living it one day at a time here at the North Bay Humane Society, so we're really encouraging people call first. So our phone lines are open during regular business hours, and our position changes on a day-to-day basis. So we're sort of going with the flow and the criteria and the restrictions that are put on the majority of the public right now. So definitely give us a call and we can walk people through it, but the website is always open to the public as well.
All right, we're going to what used to be the community bulletin board. It will be back. Let's go to the community, it's cancellation and info board right now. North Bay Winter Farmers Market canceled for the rest of the year because, of course, of COVID-19. The mall is shut down. Ice hut removal deadline, Area Lakes, March 31st, which is not that far away. And City of North Bay has introduced a business hotline for businesses to call, 474-0626. Or you can email them at invest@investnorthbay.ca, and that is starting this week. Also, COVID-19 resources, Canada.ca, COVID-19, Ontario.ca, coronavirus, Telehealth Ontario, myhealthunit.ca, and if you have perhaps symptoms, give them a call. When we come back, Clark will have the weather forecast.
Weather is brought to you by Canadore College. Great things happen here.
Well, the temperature has dropped and the rain has transitioned to snow. Welcome back to Cogeco News. I'm Clark Heipel here in Sunset Park. I am here for your 5-day weather forecast brought to you by Canadore College. Wet flurries are falling down and the flakes were quite large just before the noon hour on this Thursday. The temperature is dropping as the day goes on to a fairly normal low of -6 overnight on this Thursday night into Friday, and then the temperature is going to rise above freezing with sunny skies to look forward to. A nice day in store on Friday. Now down here at Sunset Park, a lot of ice shacks being taken off the lake. When visibility was clear last night, I saw one ice shack way off in the distance. Other than that, ice shacks clear from the sight lines here in Sunset Park. That off-ice date is on Tuesday, March 31st. All ice shacks must be removed, and with the temperatures rising above freezing, well above freezing over the weekend, better get them off sooner rather than later before they melt into the lake. Let's take a look at the 5-day forecast brought to you by Canadore College. Heading overnight on this Thursday night, we drop down to -6 with cloudy skies. The precipitation will dissipate throughout the evening. On Friday, a nice day in store. A high of 8 degrees with sunny skies once the skies clear come afternoon. And then overnight Friday night, a clear, cooler low of -3. The last weekend of March now, Saturday, high 6, low 0. Clouds, chance of precipitation. Sunday now, high 3, low -6. That chance of precipitation continues. And Monday, the 30th of March, as far as we're going to get, we're going to have sun and cloud, but chance of flurries or rain depending on that temperature. High 3, low -8 for Monday. Turning the page back to the almanac, on Wednesday we had a high of 6 and a low of 5 below. The normals for this time of year are 3 above and 6 below for the high and low. Well, there you have it. There is your 5-day forecast. Do stay tuned. Greg Esterbrooks will have your sportscast right after this very short break.
Sports is brought to you by Tag Construction for all your construction needs.
Welcome back, everybody. Italy, one of the hardest hit countries when it comes to the coronavirus. Former North Bay Battalion goaltender Jake Smith was in Europe, Italy, having finished the regular season of the Italian Alps Hockey League just as the COVID-19 situation became serious. Now in Italy and other European countries and spreading worldwide, it's getting catastrophic. Smith, though, was able to leave Europe and self-quarantine upon arriving back in Canada. Jake joined our Clark Heipel via Skype to discuss this ordeal.
You had to basically escape Europe before it took over. Just bring us through your past month. It's been a whirlwind.
Yeah, it's been really crazy. I mean, it's so unfortunate what's going on in the world right now, but our experience was pretty unique. I mean, I know how hard Italy got hit, or well, is getting hit right now with the virus. It's really sad to see, but yeah, I mean, our province where we were was the last to get shut down, so we were actually able to get out in time, in the nick of time, actually, and I mean, we just kind of got back. My parents threw my car keys, and we drove up to our family home up north in Parry Sound, our cottage there, and kind of just stayed there. We did our 2 weeks of quarantine to make sure we did everything right, because we know how crazy everything was in Italy. We wanted to be so cautious with everything, and we finally got a chance to come home yesterday. So finally got to see our families. So that's great.
And what was the atmosphere like in Italy during this time?
Honestly, it was really positive, especially where we were. We were in a valley that, I mean, was pretty high up in the mountains, and everything was life as usual. Everybody was kind of remaining calm, trying to keep everything going, and it was kind of just more watching the news. I think now they kind of realize how serious the situation is, but yeah, I think they're handling it really well, and just got to keep doing the necessary moves to make sure that the disease doesn't spread.
Yes, words to the wise. All right, we are done for Cogeco News. We'll see Jake in some battalion throwback games in the very near future. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Cogeco News on Friday. We'll see you then.